Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500+ SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge-sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500+ SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge-sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives that keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America region. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's finally time. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm just setting up my screen here. Please give me a few seconds. All right, I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Great. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our event today. We are hosting this one of the biggest GSDC event that we have, Gamification Carnival for L&D professionals, and we are so excited to be hosting this with one of the most special guests ever. My name is Setala, and I will be the moderator for today. And joining me is my colleague Anjali, who will be there on the chat box. If you require any assistance, any information, you can just ping her there. All right, so very excited for this two-day event that we'll be having. Like I said, it is the Gamification Carnival for the L&D professionals, and we have a very special guest, which I'm sure you all are already aware about. But before I introduce him, I do want to go through the two-day event journey that we'll be having. So today, the day one, we will be learning from this expert about the gamification mastery. He will be taking us through the theory and practice of this gamification mastery, and right after him, that is tomorrow, day 2, we will be having a live hackathon with all the learnings that we will be having today. So for the live hackathon, we do have many special surprises, but I won't be announcing that right now. We have a special guest with us on the live here itself, who will be announcing about the surprises that we have. So I do urge you to stay till the end so that you can learn about all the surprises that we have prepared. So allow me to introduce the hosting organization before we dive into the session for today. We are known as Global Skill Development Council, GSDC. So we are a vendor agnostic, internationally recognized global certification body, accredited by ANSI and ABI-CB. We have certified over 90,000 plus professionals worldwide, and we currently have over 100 plus certifications on our portfolio. We are also recognized by over 1,000 plus multinational corporates worldwide and affiliated with 30 plus universities. And we have over 500 plus SMEs who are industry experts globally. And they work closely to provide very valuable quality certifications that we have. We are also partnered with over 100 plus global authorized training partners. They are spread across the globe, and if you are requiring any training on any of our programs that GSDC has, then you can check out their profile. They provide training. The link is shared on the chat box. You can go through that. And if you have any partners in your region, then you can connect with them for any training requirements that you need for GSDC. A quick shout out to our patrons who have been with us all this time through all these events that we have had. Thank you, as always, for always sharing these valuable knowledge programs with the community. And also not forgetting our official media partner, who is always there holding our back for all the press publications. So thank you so much. Right now on the screen, you can see the portfolio that we have, GSDC portfolio. As mentioned, we have over 100 plus programs. If you are interested in any other programs that is listed here, do feel free to check it out on our website. The link is shared on the chat box. You can find the listed programs under the Get Certified tab, and you will find all the details about the programs there as well. I will let you know that with the certifications that we have, we provide a lifelong membership where you get access to all these valuable, knowledgeable events, and also you get to upgrade your certifications, your GSDC certifications at no cost from us. So totally free, totally complimentary as a member. Okay, before I go ahead to the most important part, I do want to give again a reminder that we will be announcing about the hackathon very soon with a special guest here with, and you have to stay till the end in order to learn about this hackathon that we have. So do stick with us here. And without further ado, allow me to introduce our very special guest for today. Well, today's celebrity speaker does not require any introduction actually, but I do want to say a few words to welcome him. We are so honored to have the world #1 gamification guru in our midst today, Mr. Yu-kai Chou, the original creator of the Octalysis Framework and the author of the book Actionable Gamification Beyond Points, Badges, and Leaderboards, which has sold over 1 million copies. Yu-kai Chou is one of the earliest pioneers of gamification, going as far back as 2003. And through his contribution, he has become a very well-known speaker on gamification and motivation worldwide. So we are very excited to hear from him. Just before he takes over, I do want to let everyone know that we will have a Q&A session with him. So do stick with us until the end to connect with him. So Yu-kai, thank you so much on behalf of GSDC for being here, and also on behalf of all the participants of this session. We are so excited to hear from you. I will hand over the virtual mic to you now.
Thank you for the great introduction. I'm very glad to be here. And so I'm gonna take over the share screen.
Yep.
Now. Great. So again, very happy to be here. Today we're gonna talk about thing called Octalysis Gamification in the field of learning and development. And I think there's already a good bio of mine. Here's an example of some companies that I've worked with. And I think one misconception that people have is when they hear, oh, Yu-kai works with gamification companies, so he must be working with a lot of gaming companies. And in fact, that's a misconception because the sweet spot of gamification are things that are very, very important, but potentially mundane, boring, or intimidating. So things like education and training, healthcare, finance, healthcare, those kind of projects we see a lot. Sometimes those are industries that are very, very competitive, like retail or e-commerce, where you just have to stand out to differentiate. And wrote a book, again, Actionable Gamification, Beyond Points, Badge, and Leaderboard. If you're interested in the talk, you can go and check out the book. It's on Amazon. I think if you search for gamification, should be the first result. I'm also publishing my second book, 10,000 Hours of Play, in a few months. So it's pretty exciting. I'm not going to go through the quotes, but you can see that the VP at Google and partner executive director IDEO and co-founder of Ethereum all have quite good things to say about working with us and the framework that we're going to share in today's session. And also, for those who don't like to read a book to learn about gamification, I actually have a gamified platform called Octalysis Prime to learn about gamification. And I made over 1,200 videos there about gamification and education, training, Web3, marketing, entrepreneurship. And so a lot of people said it's like downloading my brain. And I'm going to go through some of things we did here because this is a great example of learning and training using a gamified way. In fact, this is the main way we recruit our own employees within the Octalysis Group, which is my consulting and design company. So for humans, I believe that we all have an innate desire to learn, and that learning is one of our most fundamental activities. You could argue that when we were born, we have almost no ability besides the ability to learn. And things actually become boring when there's nothing more to learn. So if you look at a game like tic-tac-toe when we were very young, it was kind of fun, kind of interesting. But as we get older, we realize the game is pretty straightforward and simple. You know, most of the time, you just, as long as you're careful, you end up being in the draw all the time. You only win if you catch someone out of guard. But the game is not that exciting anymore because there's nothing more to learn. So again, we love learning. However, the current school and education systems break that desire to learn. And this, of course, goes into institutional training also in many of these traditional systems. When you go back to asking kids, what's work? They'll say, oh, you know, school and homework. But when you ask kids, what's play? They'll say game. You're very, very excited about that. There's a passion for that. And because of that, in the education system, when we're young and to when we're older, students, they basically like to do the bare minimum to achieve their acceptable score. Doesn't matter if you're an A student, B student, or C student, you study hard enough to get to your acceptable grade, and then you stop. And then you go play games or do something that you think is fun. And I've seen personally many training projects and companies where, especially it's compliance training and whatnot, where the manager would just say, hey, you know, just check the boxes, go through these things, do it really fast, and then go back to your other activities. And so it's all about just trying to meet the minimum requirement. And then many students only reach out to help when they feel like they are failing. So they don't come out to say, hey, I want to learn more, I want to improve my skills. They show up to the professor when they say, oh, I'm about to fail my class, can I get extra credit or something? So there's a Mark Twain quote that says, don't let schooling interfere with your education. So how did our traditional training and learning go so wrong? Well, one of the things we want to understand how people like to learn in general. So when we know that humans don't usually like to read through long forms of text or sit through long lectures, we like to learn in 3 different ways. Number 1, we like to learn by doing, trial and error. Trying something, it fails. How about do this? Okay, this is a bit better, and that makes it more engaging. We like to learn by watching others go through it. So when you see other people do it correctly, you learn. If you see people do it incorrectly, you also learn. And actually, this is why I think people I think that when someone goes through something very unfortunate, they get hurt or whatnot, people think it's funny because their brains are basically creating this pleasure chemical to say, hey, look, this is important. You want to pay attention to this. And you think it's funny, so you tell your friends about it and everyone laughs, but our brain is like, hey, we want to remember, don't do that thing because we're going to end up in a bad spot. Or else it's pretty morbid, right? Why do we enjoy it when other people did something stupid and hurt themselves? It's because it's almost like gamification. Instead of giving us pain to learn something, it gives us pleasure to do desired behavior and learn something. And even when people are sitting through long texts, and long lectures, we still like to learn through stories when it comes to times where people gather together next in a tribe and the elders talking about a story when he was young, he met someone, he did this. Everyone is very, very engaged. Unfortunately, the things that we need to learn in the modern times became more and more complex and more abstract, right? So a lot of things we're training here, immersive technology, blockchain, we're learning about a variety of AI stuff, big data. So it became more and more abstract. However, the technology and medium of education has often not caught up for the past centuries, right? We were stuck with pen and paper, and then sometimes PowerPoint that we're dealing with right now. So then comes gaming technology. So gaming technology comes in and actually introduces capability for us to learn through those 3 ways. Learn by trial and error, by doing it. Learn by watching other people do it and actually interacting with each other when they're doing it. And it doesn't just give you a storyline to listen to, it allows you to live through a storyline, experience it as a main character yourself. And that becomes the great opportunity of making learning and training more engaging and exciting. So what is gamification? Very quickly, gamification is applying all the fun game elements into what we call the boring non-game context, things that you know you have to do, but you don't necessarily want to do. And of course, this applies to most, again, like we talked about, going to school, doing your training, and a lot of times learning as a whole. And at the core of gamification, it's something I call human-focused design, as opposed to function-focused design. So most systems are function-focused. They assume that people in the system already have motivation and will do the desired behavior, and then it optimizes for efficiency, for usability, for ergonomics. So that's a bit like a factory where you assume people do their work because you pay them to do it, and then you kind of figure out how to optimize for your production, right? Your efficiency, sometimes safety. But human-focused design remembers that people in the system, they have feelings, they have motivations, they have insecurities, they have reasons why they do or do not want to do something, and it optimizes for that. So that's a bit more like a theme park where you design to be really, really fun, and then you can predict that people automatically want to line up for hours and hours just to enjoy that experience. Now, what's interesting here is that in the case of a factory, you're paying them to go through hours and hours of relatively boring factory work. But in the case of a theme park, they're actually paying you to stand in line for hours and hours because they want to enjoy those few minutes of fun. So the reason why we call this gamification is that I believe the gaming industry is the first to master human-focused design, because there's no real purpose to play a game, right? You never have to play a game. You have to do your other things like take your pills, do your training, pay your taxes. Even if you don't like it, you have to just kind of persevere and push through it. But again, for a game, you never have to play a game. The moment a game is no longer fun, you leave the game. You play another game, you check your email, you go to YouTube. And even if a game was amazing for 9 months, on month number 10, if it's not fun, people leave. So games have to live through this very brutal environment of being excellent and exciting at all times, or they're going to be dead. And so they have to figure out how to maximize that capability and get people to come back sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours a day doing repetitive actions like throwing out a bird, throwing out a bird, throwing out a bird, or matching 3 gems, matching 3 gems, matching 3 gems. And so now we're learning from that discipline. That's what we call it, gamification. Now, today we're going to go through a variety of examples of gamification too, and you'll feel that a lot of them feel very different. And in the industry, there's different terminologies. There's what people call gamification. There's some people call like serious games, which are games done for a serious purpose. There's average games, which is games for advertisement purposes, game-based learning, all that stuff. And I think it's kind of confusing. I like to see the world through simple models. And so what I have here is I just divided into what we call implicit versus explicit gamification design. So explicit gamification looks like a game, feels like a game. It's magical and fun, and people can opt in or not to play this thing. So if you see this thing on the right side, this car, it looks like a futuristic car racing game, but this is actually a loyalty program we designed for Porsche. And to play this game, you actually have to own a Porsche. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this later. On the one on the right side looks even more like a game. You know, there's an NPC character with dialogue. You're building a futuristic city, and there's coins. But this is a CRM program that is motivating door-to-door salespeople for the largest restaurant technology company in Europe. So it's like, if you don't go knock on doors and sell your restaurant technology, your reservation technology to these restaurants, you can't play this game. But obviously they look like games. But then we go on the implicit side, which is about clean and efficient. So the best designs are like a doorknob. It's invisible. Like you just use it to open the door, but you don't remember what it looks like or what color was it. And so it just uses these behavioral nudges and makes people feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more accomplished or appreciated, and they start getting motivated to do different behavior. So the screen on the most left is something we designed back in the day for eBay. It's an eBay seller's dashboard, and it's just to really motivate the eBay sellers to become more professional and, you know, upload more than 4 photos and respond within 24 hours, things like that. But people go on this interface, or if you go on LinkedIn, no one's going to say like, oh, look, they're trying to make me play a game. I don't want to play a game, right? It's very implicit. And then there's stuff in the middle. It's a spectrum, right? Which is Waze. I think many of you know about Waze. If you just say it's a navigation app, it looks kind of like a game, right? With these smiley faces and hearts and all that stuff. But if you say it's a game, yeah, not really. It feels like it's more of a navigation app. So it's kind of in between. It's gameful, but it obviously isn't just a game. So where we fall into this just depends on the project itself, the client culture, and all these different variables. And so today, as we go through various examples, you'll be able to see like, hey, that's an explicit gamification example, and that is an implicit gamification example. So for those who don't know, I've been working in this field now known as gamification since 2003. So 21 years now. And back in the day, it was a very lonely passion. People didn't believe in it. They didn't understand it. And over the years, I was very lucky and blessed that more and more people, organizations, governments started caring about gamification, and it happened to be something that I've been doing it for a very long time. And so, but the thing is that a lot of people have the wrong concept that gamification is really just applying these fancy things we call game mechanics or game design elements and throwing into a product. And it didn't really make sense to me because a lot of these game elements are found in games that are also boring and failures, right? So if you just take these game elements and that are even in failed games, and you put them in training programs in your product, in your company workflow culture, it doesn't just automatically make it fun and successful, right? And so what was important is you want to capture the essence of good game design, not just the mechanics of it. So good gamification does not start with game elements, but it starts with our core drives. So this is where I introduced the Octalysis Framework, and this is what we're most known for. It's called the Octalysis because it's a combination between the word octagon and analysis. And inside of the octagon, there's the 8 core drives that motivate all our behavior. And outside, there's an example list, not exhaustive list, of different game design techniques that could bring out those core drives and motivate people. Now, this is a pretty busy chart. So at the beginning, we really just focus more on the center. And so what's unique about these 8 core drives is that everything we do in life is based on one or more of these 8 core drives, which means that if there's none of these 8 core drives there, there's zero motivation, no behavior happens. Each and one of you are here because of at least one of these 8 core drives. Some of you are here because of core drive 7, unpredictability and curiosity. Hey, what is this gamification thing about? Let me check it out. Some people are here because of core drive 5, social influence and relatedness. Hey, you know, a friend told me about it. A colleague invited me, so I'm here. I imagine many of you are here because of core drive 2, development and accomplishment. Hey, I really want to improve my skills, level up, and do my work better. Occasionally, we have people in the room that's motivated by core drive 1, epic meaning and calling. Hey, I really think this can change the world, and I think this is where the future is going to be at. I want to be part of it. Now, when I travel to different countries and do these talks, there's also core drive 6, scarcity and impatience. Hey, this speaker only comes to my country once a year, so I better reprioritize my schedule to show up. And when I do, private company workshops, for Fortune 500s and whatnot, oftentimes it's only core drive 8, loss and avoidance, which is, oh, I don't want to get fired, so I show up. And hopefully that's none of your motivations, at least not your only motivation here. But the key thing is that without these 8 core drives, I wouldn't be here. None of you would be here. Your coworkers are not working and your customers are not buying. Nothing happens. Even the drive to eat is within this 8 core drive. So without these 8 core drives, we don't eat and we starve to death. So the quick way to use the framework is to think, all right, what is the desired behavior we want? And what among those 8 core drives already motivate that behavior? And then you can start brainstorming, how do we use more of these 8 core drives to increase motivation to do it? Again, function-focused design is assuming people already have motivation and it optimizes on efficiency. Human-focused design assumes that people don't have motivation, or at least not enough motivation, and every step of the way is trying to make people feel more accomplished, to make it more curious, more unpredictability, having more scarcity to it, and every step of the way we want to drive people's action. So today we're going to go through these 8 core drives, what they are. I'm going to go through some quick examples. Some of them are case studies of projects that we've done before. Some of them are just connecting to examples in education. And then we're going to talk about the different natures of these core drives. Some are what we call white hat motivation core drives, which make people feel powerful, in control, they feel good. Some are what we call black hat motivation core drives that make people feel urgent, obsessed, even addicted. But it could leave a bad taste in our mouths because we feel like we're not in control of our behavior. And then we're going to discuss the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation core drives. So one thing that's interesting is when I published this framework in 2012 on my blog, yukaichat.com, I just wanted a tool to help companies solve problems. I didn't have any ambitions in academia at the time. But now if you go to Google Scholar and you search for my framework Octalysis, you'll see, I think now it's like 3,500 PhD thesis academic journals, all referencing the framework and applying to things like e-learning during COVID-19, which is pretty relevant to this talk, gamification e-commerce, public sector, designs for the elderly. And so again, I just feel very, very blessed and lucky that this work that I did out of intellectual curiosity not only stands strong in the commercial world, but still in the academic world too. All right, so let's check it out. The first core drive is epic meaning and calling. This is a drive that says we feel motivated because we feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So this is, for instance, why people contribute to Wikipedia, right? We all know that people don't contribute to Wikipedia because they can make money, but they also don't do it to update their resumes and advance their careers. A lot of people spend hours every day after work updating the current events or insect section of Wikipedia because they believe they're protecting humanity's knowledge, something bigger than themselves. In the game, you'll often see this theme, right? The game will say, wow, the world's about to end. And somehow you're the only person qualified to save the world. And so it feels great and amazing. And so for most people, they don't really get the opportunity to feel that they're making a difference in the world on a regular basis, right? And this is why when they feel like their life is not that meaningful and they're not doing huge things, just doing a small thing in a company, they go to games because then they feel like they're doing something big. And so this core drive deals with a lot of things that's like higher meaning and purpose, sustainability, patriotism, honor, faith and religion. And so as long as it's something bigger than ourselves and we're helping people, making the world better, this falls into that. So this connects to one of our clients called Ocean Hero. So Ocean Hero is a search engine, but just like Google and Bing. But the difference is that when you search on it, instead of getting ad money, it picks up plastic bottles from the ocean and it recycles it. So now people think, hey, I can search for things in many different places. Actually, this search engine is not as good as Google's search engine, but I make a difference. I feel like a hero when I'm using this tool, as opposed to just making a big company make more money. So people feel motivated, they feel engaged. When I first started helping them, they had about 2 to 3 million bottles picked up from the ocean, and now they have 100 million bottles recovered and counting, and it's all validated by recycle bank certificates. And so with my limited knowledge of ecology, I think extra 100 million bottles removed from the ocean benefits a lot of different ecosystems. And when it comes to learning, one of our interesting clients actually is called Trade Samurai for a while ago. And they are basically a company that did Forex trading training. So teaching people how to invest in the Japanese yuan or the British pound. And so the founders were telling me that, hey, even when people had investable income, right, they still feel intimidated with Forex trading. They usually put their money into real estate or Apple stock, Tesla stock, sometimes cryptocurrency, but, they don't really want to go into learning about Forex trading. So they wanted to make it more enjoyable, more interesting. And so they designed, or we helped them, we worked together, design a game called Trade Samurai, which is basically you're learning how to do Forex trading through a samurai journey. Here's a little visual that I probably won't have the sound. I'll just talk through it. So it's an experience where we first have this epic meaning and calling, where it's like, hey, so this modern day person suddenly interacts with this the samurai ghost from 400 years ago, and his name is Homa-san. He's actually a billionaire samurai in history who popularized the candlestick trading method. And he'll say that, hey, everyone remembers me as this billionaire, but what I was actually doing is I was fighting the evil forces of greed and fear, saving the world from all that stuff. And I do it through balanced trading, through controlling my emotions and doing balancing the fear and the greed. And yeah, I became a billionaire, but that's not important. That's, most of the time it's really about making the world better. But so I sealed them away into a different dimension. And but then now, because of the greed of this generation, they're gaining power, they're coming back, and I'm a ghost now, so I can't do anything. So I need to teach you, I need to train you to become the next trade samurai. And so you go into this different training sessions where there's like 5 books, the Book of Earth, which is fundamentals, which is what you're seeing right now. You learn about commodity nations, about import, export, leverage, and all that stuff. And so it's using a more fun storytelling kind of way to do it. By the way, when we talk about epic meaning and calling, there's real epic meaning and calling, which is you're actually making a difference in the world. And there's fictional, which is having this make-believe, like, oh, I'm actually doing something big. Like Star Wars fans, they love the Force, even though they're like, oh, religions are all superstitious, they're stupid. And then suddenly they're like, yeah, the Force is amazing. So they believe in this fictional epic meaning calling, and it motivates them. Then we have the Book of Water, which is about technical trading, so candlesticks, and how to understand what the support curve is. And this is actually a lot of fun, because before I also thought this is all very intimidating. I was like, okay, I don't want to learn Forex trading at all. But once we start working with them and doing this, like I started enjoying it, and I still to this day, I use things I learned here to do my own investments, whatnot. And in the plot line, there's this blind dragon too. So old, he's blind, and it's like a Flappy Bird game where you have to read the candlesticks to decide if you go up or down and whatnot. And so Then the Book of Fire is about, taming your emotions, whatnot. So again, it's making something that's mundane more interesting, and it can't promise people will make more money. So it can only promise confidence and joy, things like that. So here's a just interesting example about something like learning about finance, right, in general, which is not exciting, and turn into a more fun experience. They can tell this is completely explicit gamification, right? It looks like a game. So core drive 2 is development and accomplishment. So this is a drive that says, because we feel like we're improving ourselves, we are leveling up, we're achieving mastery. And most of the points and badges you might have heard in gamification fall into those core drives. Points are just mathematical counters. It shows a sense of progression. So even though you're doing the same things over and over and over again, at least you see this number getting bigger and bigger, or this progress bar getting longer and longer, and you feel like you're getting somewhere. Badges are what we call achievement symbols, and so symbolize a sense of accomplishment. And achievement symbols can be many different forms. It could be badges, trophies, helmet, uniform changes. It could be black belt, white belt in martial art. And that, of course, has borrowed itself into Six Sigma, which is quality management. But the key thing is that it must symbolize an accomplishment. If you give people a badge for every silly thing they do, then it's just the icon, right? It has no meaning. And so you have to design the experience so that the icon, the symbol, symbolizes actual achievement. And that's very, very important. And one of the most famous gamification products in the world is actually in learning, and it's Duolingo. And you can see that Duolingo utilizes a lot of different game design techniques, but 70% of them still fall into this core drive 2 development accomplishment. Having status points are growing, progress bars are growing. You have a streak that makes you feel like you're 5 days in a row. You feel great. They give you a badge. They give you a high five on Wednesdays. They give you a leaderboard that you're advancing forward. So they have all these different dynamics to make people feel like they're feeling smart, they're progressing, they're learning language, and they'll again, getting to the point where you can actually be very good at the language and you can have conversations is very hard. So they have a lot of short-term celebrations, and people really like that a lot. And because of that, they have 500 million users and 74 million monthly active users, which is a pretty large percentage of your users to monthly active users, and 5.2 million people are paid subscribers. Here's another company that I work with. I'm on their advisory board. They're called Experienceify, and they're a online education platform where course creators can create their own course and whatnot. And so it's like a Udemy of that sort. But what's unique about Experienceify is they care and value the win state moments so much. They have a custom builder for the instructors to put in this image, put in this background, put in this sound effect. And so there's thousands of combinations that can be played as win state. Most platforms, it uses the same win state or same 5 music ceremonies and to celebrate people finishing a course or getting a certificate. So they have thousands of variations. The instructor can put it at any place they want. And because of that, they also have a pretty strong completion rate compared to most other courses. So most online courses, even if people pay for it, the completion rate is only 3 to 5%. But Experienceify, they were able to get course completion up to 30%, which is 10 times higher than many other platforms. And so it's very strong. This is just them telling, hey, if you're a course instructor, use the platform, you'll get better results. Core Drive 3 is empowerment of creativity and feedback. So that's kind of like Lego. You give users the basic building blocks, and there's an infinite amount of ways for them to utilize their creativity, try different strategies, see feedback, and then go back and adjust. And it's a very engaging process. And so this core drive deals with things like strategy, meaningful choices, self-expression, autonomy. And later on, you're going to see that this is on the right top of the octagon, which means it's a white hat, right brain intrinsic motivation core drive, which means it's usually the longest lasting type of motivation. All timeless games in the world have this core drive. Doesn't matter if it's chess or poker or mahjong or golf. It requires strategy, style, self-expression, meaningful choices. And that makes it a evergreen type of game that's never getting old. So earlier we mentioned this loyalty program that we did for Porsche, and it's called Boneo. It was launched in Austria in Europe. And so, like I said, even though it looks like a futuristic car game, to play the game, you first need to own a Porsche. And then based on how you drive your Porsche and how you interact with other Porsche drivers with the app, you're going to get different resources to customize your car more, express yourself, look even cooler. And it'll give you some perks like free donuts, free coffees. But most importantly, the goal is to get you can upgrade to your next car more easily, because not only do they want you to buy a more expensive Porsche, the Volkswagen family, which is the actual client they wanted, they also own brands like Bentley and Bugatti and whatnot. So people were really engaged with that. And now there's a direct way to communicate with the car company as opposed to just the dealership or the car maintenance people or just like big commercials. So we can see very different examples of different customization, social interaction with other users, and then opening chess. And so what they saw with the launch was that the users spent 5.5 minutes in the app every single day, and they were not even allowed to use the app when they were driving. So they would drive their car, stop, and then jump on the app and use it for 5.5 minutes. And this is actually pretty strong, because think about how many apps do you use related to a product you buy that you use every single day. I know we go on social media every day a lot. We sometimes go on like YouTube, Instagram, or our work projects like Slack or email, whatnot, but not too much for the items we buy, like your computer. You don't interact with the computer company all the time directly, or the TV or your car. So they're quite happy with it, and they were pushing to deploy it Europe-wide. But this core drive also has strong implications in learning and training. So if you look at kids who play card games like Magic the Gathering, they need to gather and remember a ton of information. So there's over 1,000 cards, and there's like each card has 2 to 6 different numbers: attack, defense, special effects. And the kids who play this game well not only remembered all the information and stats, they remember things like your card counters my card, counters his card. And if you think about it, that's actually more information than the periodic table. It's like these kids not only memorize the exact placement and the weight of all the elements, they remember all the interactions of these elements. They're like, remember, like, oh, if you add these together, that's the granite combo. But if you switch the order around, it becomes a diamond combo. It becomes more powerful. And it's brilliant, right? It's genius. But if you ask the same kids, hey, so what is the fourth element? A lot of them be like, well, I don't know, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, no clue. And it's not that they suddenly went from being geniuses to idiots. It's a change in motivation, because again, for the periodic table, all they're trying to do is to get an acceptable grade, make their parents not so angry at them. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're A student or B student or C student. You study hard enough to get your acceptable grade, and then you stop, and then you go play games. But when they're playing these card games, every card allows them to become more powerful, utilize more creativity and strategy, and beat their friends. And so if as a means to an end, they need to memorize a lot of information, that's not just tolerable, that's actually enjoyable. People are excited about that. And so I have some clients who come to me and says, hey, Yu-kai, our employees, they're not so well educated. They're like blue collar workers. They don't have the intellectual capacity to memorize our operations manual or our insurance plans or menu, whatnot. And at least from my experience, almost at all times, it's not a problem with intelligence. It's a problem with motivation. A lot of these people, they go back home, they watch sports, and they still remember all these different stats about how different players play against each other. And so the key thing is about how do you make it more motivating, engaging when you're training people. Core drive 4 is ownership and possession. So this is a drive that says we feel motivated because we feel like when we feel like we own something, we want to improve it, we want to protect it, and we want to get more of it. So this deals with things like virtual goods and virtual collections. It's the drive that makes us want to make money, but also makes us want to kind of improve the things that we do. So including we want to collect stamps and baseball cards, but if we also customize and invest a lot of our time to customize our Dropbox folders, our LinkedIn profiles, our Facebook profile. We feel a lot of attachment, hence ownership over that experience. So even if a new technology comes out, we don't want to switch to that one because that one doesn't understand me. This one does. This one's my system. And this goes into one of our most impressive and biggest case studies that we have, and this is in Brazil. And we work with a technology company, which is run by one of my students from 2014, Ricardo, who has this company called Funny Fire. But the client was Caixa Econômica Federal, which was the second largest public bank in Brazil. And they wanted to figure out how to get all 83,000 employees at 4,500 locations and with 70 siloed systems to get more motivated with their work and do their training and execute on things. And it doesn't matter what role they are in. It doesn't matter if it's financial analysts, sales, HR, all of them have to connect their training activities, their working activities into this KPI system that's gamified. And their goal was to see if they could increase, 5% their recurring income. And that seems really high, right? Especially when you're the second largest bank already. But theoretically, if everyone is excited, passionate about their work, the bank should be making more money. So what we designed for them and implement for them is a card collection design. So we tied all their KPI activities into a centralized gamified system. And as long as they're completing the KPI activities, they will get, let's say, 1/4 of a TV or 1/2 of a coffee maker. And if they get all the parts, then they will actually get the reward. So now the employees feel like doing their KPI activities became more exciting. It's like opening a treasure box, and they were really excited to say, hey, I want to see what I'm doing. Sometimes you'll even get an Easter egg where it's like, it's just a reward immediately. You don't even have to collect the parts. And so within 3 months of launching, they already increased their 5% recurring profit goal. So again, my student, Ricardo, went to the CEO and said, hey, we hit our 5% goal. So what should we do? Should we stop? And the CEO's like, no, keep going, keep going. So they started adding more and more features, and they saw that the more rewards they're giving out, the more money the bank is making. So they eventually started giving out cars. And so at the end of the period, which is 9 months, Caixa actually increased their recurring income by 46%, which at the time of the conversion rate was 1.06 billion US dollars. And because of that, Caixa went from the number 2 public bank in Brazil to the number 1 public bank in Brazil. And so Ricardo, he had some former college classmates who were working at the biggest bank, Bank of Brazil, and they saw the numbers. They were shocked. So they called him. It's like, what's going on? What happened? And he's like, oh yeah, it's because we're doing this Octalysis gamification thing, and it worked out. So you can see, obviously, if you do this gamification thing well, you could create a lot of impact, right? And this case study had such huge impact, over $1 billion US dollars, because it scaled up very quickly. Most other projects, you'll see it in many of our case studies, right? Increasing core metrics by 40%, 80%, 150% is very common for us. But most of the time it's in a pilot to a small group of users, and it'll do really well. And as it scales in the organization, it starts reaching some bureaucracy, and some director doesn't like it and wants to diminish it. People leave, they come in, and the new people don't know what it is, and oftentimes get stuck in limbo. But this one, the CEO says, no, we immediately want the 83,000 employees to use it like within a few months. And that's why 46% lift end up being $1 billion. So the key is that oftentimes takes a lot of leadership to push innovation. And remember, we talked about, I have a gamified island to learn about gamification. So usually when people come on this island every day, and they'll know what's always there, but there's a 40% chance every 12 hours that something different will show up. So they can open a chest, by the way, and collect some Chou coins, but they might also notice the different thing. In this case, over here, there's a little blue wolf over here. And if you go to the section and you click on the blue wolf, it'll ask you a gamification design question. Like, oh, there's a problem with the company. How would you solve it? Which game design technique would you use? If you get it correctly, then you capture it, and it becomes part of your gamification album. And each one of these what we call geomons, they have one of those game design techniques. So this is the way people go around and collecting them and learning what the game design techniques are. But if they get it wrong, then the geomons run away. So I remember there was an OP member, Octalysis Prime OP members. He encountered a mystical geomon, the leprechaun, which only had a 1% chance of showing up whenever he goes on the island. And he was really excited, but then he got the question wrong. And so the leprechaun escaped. And it scarred him for years. He was like, oh, I never want this to happen again. I have to go watch more of Yu-kai's videos and learn all these gamification knowledge. So I would never have this thing run away anymore. And over the years, he's captured more mystical geomons. I think even the legendary geomon, which is 0.2% chance, but he always remembers the first mystical that escaped, the one that escaped, basically. So you can see people are engaged, and because of that, we have a daily active user over monthly active user of 38%. So what does that mean? It means that if you kind of care about this platform and you come in at least once a month, it roughly means that there's 38% chance that you come in every single day. And we actually have that story where one of our members came to me and said, Yu-kai, I think the leveling system on Octalysis Prime is broken. I'm like, oh, really? Why? Tell me about it. And she's like, oh, it's because I feel like I'm leveling up too quickly. I'm already silver status, and I'm not even one of the hardcore people on the island. And I said, okay, well, tell me, so when did you sign up to Octalysis Prime? And she said, oh, I signed up maybe 15 months ago. And I said, all right, and how often do you come onto the platform? She says, well, at least every day I'll come onto this platform once or twice to open the chest and capture the geomon. And then I'll sometimes do it. And I said, wait, hold on. You've been telling me that you've been coming back to octalysisprime.com for every single day for 15 months straight. She's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm like, yeah, and you don't think you're a hardcore user, which there's definitely more hardcore people out there. But for those who don't know, there's blue status, orange, purple, silver, gold, and black. So she's 4 out of 6. So I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty happy where you are. I don't think it's broken. I'm pretty happy. So, but you can see people being very, very engaged and active. Remember I said every 12 hours, there's a 40% chance of capturing, spotting a geomon. This is the actual leaderboard in the background. So at most you can capture 2, right? If you're lucky, capture 2 a day. This person, Guilio, has captured 1,732 geomons, and which means he's been on it for every single day for I think 5 years now. So, and even number 7, Ariel Strong, is like 1,200. So and actually we see a course completion rate of over 60%. Like I said, I make 1,200 videos on the platform. A lot of people have gone through all 1,200 of them and pushing me to make more, which is making me a little stressed. But it also meant that when we, as a consulting company, wanted to recruit people, before we needed 10 months to train them full time before they're ready to represent us to meet with to our clients. But after Octalysis Prime, when people join, it only took 2 weeks and they're ready to go because they've been training themselves for a few years, and they've been already excited about the whole thing and watched 1,200 videos. Okay, core drive 5 is social influence and relatedness. So this is the drive that says basically everything you do based on what other people do, think, or say. So that's kind of like collaboration, competition, group quests, and gifting. It also has the relatedness piece, which deals with things like nostalgia. Like if you see a product that reminds you of your childhood, you have a higher chance of buying the product. If you meet someone from the same hometown, you have a higher chance of striking a deal with that person. And so this is another project that we did. It's called Novel Oracles by Procter & Gamble. And this one is motivating door-to-door salespeople to, to knock on doors more, but also collaborate together more. Because first of all, we know that, so these salespeople are supposed to go to all these retail stores and say, hey, would you like to replenish on your Procter & Gamble products? Well, we have also new products that you could buy. And we know usually it's not a very engaging thing to begin with. But the other problem is that these salespeople see each other as the biggest competitors and they don't want to help each other. So we want to design something to have them more of a collaborative experience. So we introduced something called the Adventures of the Endless Sea. And so it's like, again, explicit gamification theme where it's like, hey, you're a 17th century merchant trader, and you have a ship that goes around to do trading and whatnot. And so there's a lot of mechanics. These are all like 1-hour case studies, but the key is that you also share a town together, and the town has town health and town wealth. So if everyone's doing their KPI activities, the town's healthy, but if they don't do their KPI activities, then it starts dropping in health. And if people close deals, then the town gets wealth, and it can start investing in things like infrastructure, hospitals, libraries, and whatnot. So because of that, people started seeing that to get each other as the same team. They're building a town together. They're helping each other more. So we saw that sales and training KPI activities went up by 59%. Their sales revenues actually went up by 28.5%. I might have not mentioned they were the largest distributors of Procter & Gamble in Eastern Europe, so pretty large. Social interactions were very hard to measure, but the company said based on how the salespeople are helping each other out now on the systems, they said at least increased by 300%. And because of that, we won Best Gamification Project Award of 2017, which is why we get to share these case studies, because a lot of them are confidential. The ones we share are the ones that, they want to kind of win some award. That's Core Drive 2 development accomplishment, by the way. Another thing about Core Drive 5 social influence is social norming. So there's a lot of applications out there that says, hey, look, this is where you're at. This is where your best neighbors or people like you are at. And this is where the average people are at. And when you see you're kind of below average, that's what motivates a lot of people to change their behavior. And so it's important to also know that the social influence goes both ways. There's a Arizona National Park that had an issue with people stealing their petrified wood. So they wanted to figure out how to prevent people from doing that. So they put 3 kind of signs. And so these are the experiments. And the first sign that says, hey, lots of people were stealing from this place with the petrified wood. Destroys the nature, basically don't do it. And the second one is just says, please don't remove the petrified wood because it's bad. And the third sign is the control group, which is there's no sign at all. They just want to see what people do in their natural habitats. By the way, someone might want to help clean up this little blue mark that someone wrote there. And they wanted to see what people do in their natural habitats, right? It's like they threw around a lot of easy to steal petrified wood. So the third type of sign, when they saw that, when there's no sign at all, they saw that about 3% of the people were stealing. So that's the norm, 3%. When they put up the second sign, the theft rate dropped to 1.67%. So about half the people decided not to steal because there's a sign that says don't do it. But when it went up to the first sign that says lots of people were stealing, it's bad, the theft rate actually increased to 7.9%. So this sign not only did not deter crime, it actually promoted crime and almost tripled the theft rate, because it's saying that, wow, it seems to be an overwhelming thing that people are stealing when they can. So maybe I should too when I can, right? And so for social norming, you always want to say people like you are doing the desired behavior, and as opposed to people like you are not doing the desired behavior, and you want to be different to them. Okay, I found the way to clean up this mark, I think. All right, it's cleaned up because it was bothering me a little bit. Okay, and by the way, you have a pen tool, everyone, and if you draw, everyone sees it. So, and I know it's fun to play, but it's it gets in the way. All right, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you want, you can close that from your screen. Like you'll have a option to close viewer's screen for that pen tool.
Yeah, I just cleared it up. So, yeah. So, yeah, someone's Sarita is playing with it a little bit more now. So, anyway, Amazon knows about this social norming, so they will say that, hey, the people who are similar to you are buying their things here, right? So it uses social norming to motivate people forward, and it's one of their most successful products. our features in the product. And we also know people like the feedback and the reviews and whatnot, and they feel connected. They feel like, wow, safety in numbers, if people say good, it must be good, especially people I can relate to, not just the professional critics. And you can see that this guy, Jack, was a top 1,000 reviewer. So even on Amazon, you have these leaderboards and gamified structure there too. Core Drive 6 is scarcity and impatience. So this is basically saying we want something simply because we can have it, or it's very difficult to obtain. And it's basically saying that when there's a limit in time or opportunity, we care. If it's abundant, if it says we can do this anytime we want, right? And you can get as many as you want, then we don't do it at all. But if it says you can only do it 2 times and you have to do it today, then people start caring about it a lot. And so that's the idea of scarcity. I'll just clean this out again. Okay. And this is how Facebook started. So Facebook at the beginning said, hey, we're only for Harvard students. If you didn't go to Harvard, too bad, can't use Facebook. Then it says, well, you know, Facebook is for Harvard, some Ivy League schools, some other schools, your high school buddies got in, but you didn't get in, too bad. And then it opened more and more schools. So when it opened up to UCLA in 2004, when I was attending it, everyone rushed into Facebook, not because they already knew how great Facebook was, because no one has tried it before, but that sheer exclusivity alone made people want to join. It's like, you're not allowed to join. Okay, you're allowed to join, and everyone rushes in. So this is another case study we have with an online education company called BitDegree. So they're also an online platform to learn about programming and blockchain and whatnot. And just like we said earlier, even when people pay for a course, the course completion rate is usually quite low. So we designed a theme, basically a cyberpunk futuristic theme where you're in this futuristic city, and then you kind of have to finish your courses to go to the next one. So immediately when people join, instead of saying, hey, here's the whole course, we show people this is stuff you can't see yet. These are locked. You have to do things to get there. There's also daily chest. Like if you don't open it today, you come back 3 days later, you lose the opportunity to open today's and tomorrow's chest. And then there's a daily streak. So, you know, people don't want to lose their streak, so they feel motivated and driven. So the BitDegree actually did an A/B testing. And so for half the traffic they sent to the normal site and half the traffic they sent to the gamified site. And they saw that course completions went up by 350%. So from 10% to 45%, time on platform increased by 300%. Course completion time was reduced by half. And so you can see 3 times more people finished their courses in half the time. And so they were quite happy with the results. We did this, I think, in 2021, but even 2 months ago, or even last month, I checked their social media and they were still talking about how working with Octalysis Group was very, very impactful doing these gamification things. Core Drive 7 is unpredictability and curiosity. So this is basically saying, because we don't know what's going to happen next, we're always thinking about it. So this is heavily utilized in the gambling industry, but whenever you have a sweepstakes program, a lottery system, a mystery box, or a raffle ticket system, you have this core drive. It's also the drive that makes us want to finish a book or a movie, which is why we don't like spoilers, right? We don't like we don't like to know how things should end before we're ready to do so. And this is a example where we apply that Core Drive 7 to a loyalty program for a hotel, La Quinta Hotel in the United States. We also work with an in-between technology partner called Lucky DM. And so basically, through a variety of spinning wheels and winning prizes, we get people to come back and engage with the hotel even when they don't need to book a hotel night yet. And so they saw that 34% user return every day for 3.75 minutes. Their bookings per user increased by 206%. And the viral coefficient was 530%, which means each person on average invited 4.3 friends to join the program. And so they saw that as a big success. Core Drive 8 is loss and avoidance. So this is saying that you're doing something because you don't want something bad to happen. It's the fear core drive. It's also the fear of missing out, FOMO core drive. So it's very straightforward. And there's an example called Forest app, where it's a productivity app where you set a countdown timer to how long you want to work, and then you choose a tree. And when the time period goes, it'll plant the tree into your forest, so it feels good. But the key trick is this: if you get distracted and you start playing with your phone, your tree will die. And it doesn't just tell you, hey, you failed your mission, too bad, try again. It will actually plant your dead tree into your forest. And so for a whole year, you'll have to stare at your failure. So people's like, oh no, I have to focus more. I have to get my work done better. And so we see that as of 2022, there were 40 million downloads and 6 million people paying this app to look at their dead trees or to be threatened by a death tree, right? So because they want to learn, they want to be focused, but they can't. And that's why they use this loss and avoidance technique. Duolingo also used a lot of streak designs for loss and avoidance. It's like, hey, you constantly like, hey, you're about to lose your streak. You're losing your streak. Do you want to save your streak? But of course, when people get, this is one of my OP members, like when you get 1,500 days in a row, you feel like really proud of it and you feel excited. But before that, you're just afraid of losing your streak. Anyway, so that's the 8 core drives that motivate all our behavior. It's worth mentioning again that everything we do is based on one or more of these 8 core drives, which means that if there's none of these 8 core drives there, there's zero motivation, no behavior happens. And for today, like if you just walk away with one thing, I want you to think, like you want to think about these 8 core drives and everything you're doing, everything you want other people to do. Don't think about game design techniques, features, or technologies. Think about these 8 core drives. But then I'm going to go through something very quickly, just almost like a trailer, what goes ahead once you know these 8 core drives pretty well. So these 8 core drives, they're on the octagon shape for a reason. The left side, we call them left brain core drives, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's geographically left versus the right brain core drives on the right side, but it symbolically symbolizes our logical brain versus our emotional brain. Now, what's actionable is that left brain core drives deal with extrinsic motivation, things you do for a reward, purpose, or a goal, but you don't enjoy the activity itself. So once you obtain the reward, you hit your goals, or you get used to the reward, it becomes stale, you stop doing the behavior. So it's like people are not studying or learning because they're curious or they're interested at the topic. They just want to get their certificates. They want to get the diploma. They want to get a check mark from their boss or whatnot. And so it's usually good for attracting new people into the experience. But the moment they get their reward, they're gone. And it also incentivizes them to cheat. Whereas the right brain core drives deal with intrinsic motivation. So these are things that we just enjoy doing to the point that we're even willing to pay money just to experience it. And even if we lose all our progress on the next day, we lose our certificate, we lose our badges, our diplomas, our NFTs, whatever, we would still do the activity today because that's how we measure our quality of lives, how much time we spend on things we enjoy doing. So we don't need a reward to enjoy using our creativity, or we don't need a reward to enjoy hanging with our friends. In fact, some people hang with the same friends for 3 hours every day for years, and there's no badge or reward or anything, right? And it's still fun, evergreen. We also don't need a reward to be in that suspense and unpredictability, being sucked into Instagram and whatnot. So it's good for keeping people in the system. They're enjoying it. They're having fun. They're not just looking at what the right answers are. They're flipping around the textbook, figuring out, okay, why is this the answer? They're doing online research, right? Because it's fun to learn, like we said. And then there's also top versus bottom. Top one, we call the white hat motivation core drives. And so if you're doing something because you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, you're improving yourself, achieving mastery, and you're using your creativity, feels very, very good, right? The problem is that there's no urgency because you're in full control, so people procrastinate. The bottom ones are what we call black hat motivation core drives. If you're always doing something just because you want to avoid a loss, or you can't have something, or you don't know what's going to happen next, it's still extremely powerful in motivating our behavior. But in the long run, it could lead to bad taste in our mouths because we feel like we're not in control of our own behavior. And the reason is because it ties to our survival instincts, right? Like avoiding danger, going for scarce lands and searching for, exploring new lands and searching for scarce resources. And that's why we feel like we're not in control, because we feel like we're hardwired to behave like this. So again, white hat motivation makes people feel powerful, in control, they feel good. Black hat motivation makes people feel urgent, obsessed, even addicted. But in the long run, people could burn out. White hat motivation is good for long-term kind of activities like loyalty programs, like community management and innovative workplace environments and whatnot. Black hat motivation is good for one-time transactions. You just want people to sign up to your course, pay you money, give you a credit card, donate. or short bursts of activities. Like having a 2-week competition could be fun, but a year-long competition could burn people out. And so what's very important is that if you're just being very data driven and just look at what works and just copy what works, a lot of times you'll get more and more black hat, because black hat motivation drives urgency, right? And so it's like, hey, look, the data works. Let's do this. Let's do this. And now people are constantly sucked in because they're afraid to lose something, and there's a lot of scarcity, and they're sucked in because like a gambling addiction kind of thing. And so even though the numbers look good, people don't feel happy and they could be burning out. And in the long run, you could still hurt your stats because you're so data driven in the short run. But when we call black hat motivation, it doesn't mean it's a negative thing. A lot of people voluntarily put themselves in black hat motivation to go to the gym more often or eat more healthily. In that last case, to focus harder. So this is like a funny example where it's an alarm clock, where every time you press the snooze button, it destroys your money, the wake me up 5 minutes later button. And so you're waking up because you don't want to lose money, right? Core drive 8, loss and avoidance. It doesn't feel comfortable, but you're okay with it because it's a goal you want to accomplish. You want to wake up. What people don't like is when employers, marketers, educators, governments, parents use a lot of black hat motivation technique to get people to buy things they don't need, work overtime without proper compensation, and get manipulated. And people will still do the activity, but because this stuff is obsessive. But as we know, the moment they can escape, they do want to. Employees leave the company, people buy from competitors. Sometimes children even run away from home when the parenting strategy is to black hat. But if it's a goal you want to accomplish, then you're okay with it. It's like some people pay their gym trainers to call them losers, right? Even though it doesn't feel great when you're trying to do push-ups and you're like, you're so weak. Later on, you're saying, oh, thank you so much for pushing me harder than I could ever push myself. Because again, it's a goal you want to accomplish. So once we understand how your users are feeling, your students or whatever they're feeling, and you know how you want them to feel, that's when you go to the outer desired actions and game design techniques to motivate that behavior. It could be points or badges, could be group quests or Easter eggs. The key thing is that just because you have these game design techniques doesn't mean you bring out these 8 core drives. You could have badges, but people don't feel accomplished. You could have a lot of social features and buttons, but people don't feel socially connected and appreciated. And this is why you want to think about the 8 core drives, not different types of these techniques. So once you understand this level 1 Octalysis framework, then you can bring up another level. Again, just flashing through, if you're interested in learning about down the road where this leads you, you can see how you can analyze different projects or platforms based on if it's more white hat or black hat. This is very left brain oriented because it's about our life, our work. So it's very extrinsic. So if everyone makes a LinkedIn account, but there's not a lot of fun stuff to do on LinkedIn if you're not trying to get an opportunity somewhere. This is a banking app. Classcraft is an education platform. Facebook lacks epic meaning, calling, and scarcity. And so there's on my site, there's a little tool that people can use to play with the Octagon and type notes and get some template-y feedback. And then once we understand that, then we can kind of think about how the journey evolves through these 8 core drives. So we want to think about, for someone to learn, discovery phase. What motivates them to even choose to learn? Onboarding, do they feel confused on day 1? Scaffolding, why do they come back every day, every week, every month, or 10 times a day, whatever your design is? And endgame, what motivates the veteran to keep coming back after 5 years, 10 years? Why are they still here? So we think about what among those 8 core drives are motivating people on each step. And remember, if there's no blue area, when there's no core drive, there's no motivation, no behavior. They just drop out. They don't even go to the next phase. So just think about how to optimize motivation for that. And then once you understand this better, you can push up another level to level 3 Octalysis and think about when people who like to achieve, what kind of motivation are they feeling? What core drives throughout the journey? If they like to explore, what are they feeling? If they like to socialize, what are they feeling? And if they like to be very, very competitive, what are they feeling? And you can start adjusting the white hat, black hat, intrinsic, extrinsic for the experience based on the features and all that stuff. So anyway, this is the Octalysis framework. If you're interested, check out my book, Actionable Gamification. Again, if you don't want to read a book, you can go to octalysisprime.com, or just experience how I gamify my learning and training, and achieves, more than 60% course completion rate results. And yeah, and so thank you very much. Look forward to seeing some questions.
Thank you so much, Yu-kai. Such an interesting, amazing presentation, dear. So many questions we have on the chat, but I do want to request you and all our participants here to give us a few minutes time here. We will hear from our advisory board member Deepak, who will be announcing about hackathon for tomorrow, and then we'll move to the Q&A. Deepak, please take away.
Thank you very much, Said, for giving me the opportunity to take a few more minutes, before we get into the Q&A. And, I really would like to convey my regards to Yu-kai for such a wonderful piece of work that you have created. I mean, it's great to hear this from you directly. I feel no one could have done this better other than you. So thank you very much for this. Now, I hope you can see my screen. Seth, if you can confirm.
Yes.
All right. So same time, same platform. We're going to do a lot more in action, quite inspired by what Yu-kai just explained wonderfully well. So we're going to have some AI-driven hackathon. We have just combined the whole gamification with AI, which is becoming quite popular nowadays. We're also going to get into some real-time challenges which are associated to L&D professional, which is also going to give you some hands-on experience to try your hands. And then also the evaluation will be done in a fraction of a second using AI platforms. The feedback is also given, and you will also get a personalized feedback for your self-development. The good news is by the end of this great hackathon tomorrow live, we are going to find our 3 top winners from the hackathon by the end of tomorrow's session. And guess what? The 3 top winners are going to get a voucher worth $1,000 from GSDC. And the icing on the cake is signed book copy of Yu-kai, which is coming in December. So we will be excited to welcome you tomorrow's session. And I would not like to take much of the time. And let me hand it over to Seth and Yu-kai for Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much for that quick announcement. And we're very excited to have the live hackathon tomorrow with you, Deepak. We'll see you tomorrow. And yes, back to the session here, Yu-kai. I do have some questions with me here. I'll just read it out quickly for you. For the first question, I would like to take this from Dududzi Gabela, who asks, which gamification strategies are most effective for fostering learning and engagement in L&D corporate training?
Okay, so obviously, you oftentimes you want to use all 8 core drives just at different time periods, but as a whole, if you remember, I talked about core drive 3, empowerment of creativity and feedback is very important because this is the one that gives people meaningful choices. It gives people a sense of strategy and autonomy. So remember, right at the beginning, I said, people want to learn by doing, right? Trial and error. Let's go here. And so this is the way that people can try things, experiment, and what we call game-based learning. Because a lot of time, if it's just multiple choice, if it's just like very linear experience, people don't like it. But then when it's more of a, hey, I can experiment, I can try and I learn from that, that's what people are engaged the most. And of course, epic meaning is important. A lot of times people don't even know why they're learning this, what they can do with it. They're just trying to pass the test or get the certificate or get their managers to like check the box. So it's like, okay, this knowledge can actually help them make a difference in the world and they can solve some of the hardest world problems. I think it needs to be constantly reinforced. That drive should be there. People need to feel, have small wins. Again, all these core drives come into play. So, but the white hat motivation core drives is what makes people feel happy when they're doing it and after they're doing it. Now, the problem, especially with online learning and development, is that there's too many distractions, right? Too many other black hat triggers that pulling people away. Like for instance, like unpredictability. I'm curious, core drive 7 is on the right bottom. So it's right brain, black hat, which means our brain enjoys it, but we feel out of control, right? So this is like you want to go to bed at 10 p.m., but then you binge watch Netflix to 3 in the morning, right? Again, our brain enjoyed it, it's right brain, but then we felt out of control. So there's so many of these black hat triggers pulling us away from going to the online learning stuff. It's that a lot of times the online learning itself also needs to use black hat motivation in order to say, hey, there's this like my island. Every day there's something that you can discover, or hey, you're gonna lose the streak with Duolingo, or there's this 1-day promotion that you can sign up to the course. And so again, we usually want black hat motivation to stimulate urgency, so people come on, sign up, come back every day. And then afterwards, when they're on the platform and afterwards, they feel happy and good because the experience has a lot of white hat in it.
Amazing. Thank you. I hope that we got the answer for this. Next question here. How can we motivate the least motivated group through gamification? Any case studies you can relate for this? Asked by Mei.
Yeah, so usually as a default, people are motivated. If it's at the work environment, usually it's 2 core drives: ownership and loss and avoidance. So it's like get a paycheck and not get fired, and they'll work hard enough to get a paycheck and not get fired, and they'll stop, right? And it's hard to motivate them to do other things now. But in most environments, another thing that isn't pushed for enough is that the default person is also like the person who has no motivation, right? They're not high achieving, they don't have big goals, and they don't even want to use their creativity. But most people are still very much influenced by social elements. Even if they're introverts, they still see what other people are doing, what people and what they still want to connect with a small group. They still want to feel appreciated. So a lot of times the low hanging fruit is, number one, make people feel appreciated in environment, and number two, create a social norming environment that, hey, people here do a certain behavior. Remember, there's the quote like, you are the average of your 5 closest friends, right? If you don't have any motivation, you don't really care, but your 4 best buddies, they go to the gym twice a day. There's the chance of you going to the gym way more than you would otherwise is much, much higher, right? And so for those people, I would very much focus on how to have a better core drive 5 social influence strategy. And again, it's to make them feel appreciated and create a social norming environment for them to do more desired actions.
That is a really great information. I'm really hoping that my team is also on the call with this. So another question here, which is being asked by many in this session, it's basically about staying engaged. So one question by Ghanshyam Tawadia, he is asking, how do you determine that golden balance of keeping the learner engaged and not making it so difficult so that it becomes demotivating? So similar questions I see on the chat box by others as well. I will just keep those and keep this question for you.
Okay, so this is connected to the level 2 Octalysis we're talking about, where you kind of have to see what core drives are appropriate to keep people engaged through the different phases. Now, unfortunately, there is no golden formula because every experience is different, and even if 2 companies are very similar in the same industry, you'll see one copying the other and then it fails miserably. And so every project you kind of have to see what are the player types, what core drives motivate them, what are the desired behavior, and all those things. And I sometimes do get a question a lot like, hey, do you need all 8 of the core drives? And the answer is no. You only need one very strong core drive to drive motivation. So, and it's very difficult to get all 8 at the same time. So usually the key is to focus on 2 or 3 core drives in one phase of the experience. And then that's when we think about, okay, what are the 2 or 3 core drive that is the most effective here? So I think the golden balance kind of comes from practice and honing in your intuition and your knowledge and your skills all together, which is again why people are on doing this online learning thing, right? Just improving skills. And I think this is not brain control. It's like people, there's still going to be people who would drop out, who's going to leave, or where they don't sign up. But the idea is that if you saw from the case study before, let's say there was going to be 15 people that stayed to the end. Now there might be 40 people that stay to the end. And maybe when the design skill is better and better and the better implemented, it might be 60. Still, there's a lot of people who leave and they don't sign up. You can't really guarantee that. But if they are somewhere in the middle and they're on the fence, they're not motivated, but they're not against it, there's a much higher chance to drive them to keep going forward. And again, for that, usually you want to use the combination of white hat and black hat motivation. But usually I would say the right brain core drives are more effective at keeping people in the system for the long run, because left brain core drives, people do it for the reward and the goal, right? And you just have to keep feeding them the reward, and they have grown appetite. So once they get the reward and you have something even better, then they're gone. Whereas right brain core drives make people want to stay in the system for as long as possible.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I have a question here regarding the gamification platform. Sorry, Yu-kai, but I want to take this quick second here to inform about GSDC's gamification platform as well, which of course we designed it according to the Octalysis Framework, of course. So if you are interested in exploring a platform, then do reach out to us. We have a GSDC gamification platform. You can try that, and it's very helpful to use for beginners as well. So I believe it's Joy Sawalok. Do connect with us. We will love to explore this along with you. Another question I have here that many are very interested in knowing, it's asking, what was your most challenging project in gamification and how did you overcome these obstacles?
It's hard to say what is the most difficult one, because a lot of them, when we first see that, it always looks really hard. And then I didn't have time to show today, but we have a 5-step design process. And so the nice thing about a process methodology is as you go through the steps using this 8 core drives, at one moment there's this aha moment, again, just like, I got it, and we can solve the problem. So like there's projects about gamifying SEC compliance training for financial firms. It seems pretty hard because compliance training, no one likes it. There's thousands of pages, it keeps changing. And our job is to make the training so fun, exciting that when people finish one module, they're like, oh, where's the next module, right? Very hard. We have to gamify factory safety in the largest steel manufacturer in the world. And so, when people get hurt, obviously it's a tragedy and the machines all have to stop, all that stuff. So we have to gamify that environment so people they really want to remove hazards, report hazards, they're more careful. So that seems hard. We have to do projects that motivate kindergarteners in China to eat more healthily and understand the environmental impact of their food. And there's some where we work with like religious organizations to get the people in its religion to be more faithful. So it's kind of all over the place, and it's hard to say which one is the most difficult. But again, when you have a good framework and methodology, is as you go through it, what seemed to be just not manageable is like you start slowly seeing, okay, yeah, we can definitely improve desired actions with these 8 core drives at these trigger points, give them these feedback mechanics, give them these win states, and we can definitely improve that experience. So yeah, that's it's not a pure answer, but I don't really know which one is the most difficult one.
There definitely would be a lot that you have worked on, so obviously you might have a challenge to select one, right? All right.
The hardest one is usually when the clients have a lot of bureaucracy and then make it difficult for us to do our work. Like they say, hey, you need to improve our app, but we're not going to give you access to our app. There was a client that said that, and it's like, well, how do we improve on it? It's like, well, you got to figure it out yourself. Yeah, so there are clients that want their boss to see us fail.
That is definitely a challenge right there, yes. Okay, so we are running out of time, but we'll take a few more questions. A quick question here by Raju BR, who is asking how to balance the different Octalysis drives in gamification for long-term engagements, and can it also be applied in non-gamification, and how? Also, he has an additional question: which of the drives are more effective and common with a corporate audience?
Yeah, so like I said, these eight-core drives motivate all of us and all our behaviors. And so it's just like, again, everyone wants to feel core drive 2, which is feeling accomplished or feeling competent, right? No one wants to feel incompetent. Everyone wants to feel appreciated. No one likes to feel unappreciated. If someone likes to feel incompetent, unappreciated, pretty sure in every single culture that's seen as a psychological disease. And so the key is to understand which core drives to use at what phase of the experience. And so as a rule of thumb, again, it's always different, but oftentimes like a company's marketing and promotion should be white hat. So it's like very inspiring, it's exciting, but so people want to work with your company or sign up to your training program, but they procrastinate because there's no urgency. So then your sales and conversion pages should be black hat, and you see like, oh, there's like booking.com, which is one of our clients, right? It's like, oh, there's only 2 tickets left and there's 20 people looking at it. So you better buy it in 5 seconds. And so people sign up. And then, but once they get into onboarding, it's good to be white hat again. Say, hey, you made a great choice. You feel accomplished. Somehow the world is better because of this. You signed up because we have this donation program. And you have your friends these are the friends that also sign up. So people feel like they don't regret signing up to the program. And then in the scaffolding phase is usually a balance. It depends on what the program is. But when it talks about education, like I answered earlier, really focus on right brain core drives, which is intrinsic motivation. And if it's a in-person kind of learning system, then you can just focus on white hat to make people feel great, because you're in the room. They have to kind of pay attention to you. If it's online learning, then you will have to use black hat to grab people's attention and create prioritization of coming back on a regular basis. In the end game, the long run, it's usually all white hat, because that's the longest lasting type of motivation. Like people just feel good in the long term, and they don't need to feel the short-term stress anymore. So that kind of combines the journey and which core drives. There's no one core drive that's the most powerful. They're all they have all pros and cons. Epic meaning calling is very great. If it works, people have sacrificial behavior, but it's hard to create believability. And so development accomplishment is the easiest to do, but it's linear, and people get burnt out relatively. They get bored relatively easily. Loss and avoidance gets you immediate results, but then people, again, in this case, they do burn out. So every core drive has amazing things, but they all have their trade-offs, their negative sides. So nothing's a silver bullet, which is why you need the design skills to put it together the right way.
Yes. All right. So I hope that, yeah, he has responded. Great learning, and thank you. Okay. We are running a little out of time, but we'll take one last question. And then we'll end it here. So this question, I am also interested on learning this. He is asking, how do you know if gamification is solution for the problem at hand? Would not every challenge needs a gamified solution? So that's the question for you.
Yeah, so I think it goes back to how you define gamification, or so implicit, explicit, because if you remember, I talked about for these 8 core drives for human-focused design, like everything we do is based on these 8 core drives. If there's none of these 8 core drives, we don't even eat, we starve to death. Okay, so I would say there's no scenario where you interact with other people that this doesn't apply to 8 core drives. Think about how do we create more sense of accomplishment, unpredictability. You could call it gamification, you don't have to, or your end solution could feel like gamification, doesn't have to be. So I define gamification as human-focused design, which is, again, design that is meant to increase people's motivation at every step, right? As opposed to assume they already have motivation and just optimize for efficiency. And like I said, with gamification, there's the explicit, which is the fancy looking one, looks like a game, but the implicit one, like LinkedIn or whatnot, people don't think it's a game, and they might not say this is gamification. I don't care. Some people say that my work is behavioral design and whatnot. That's all fine. Doesn't matter what the words are. The key is that you have the knowledge to motivate people to do desired behavior and improve your lives, their lives, and the organization. I think that's the most important thing. And I'd say the time that you wouldn't use it is when everyone already has maximum motivation. They're fully motivated. Everyone's going to do the behavior. And at that point, like you said, then function focused design is good. Then you do focus on optimize for efficiency. But most of the time, especially in learning and development, motivation is often a big issue. So I would say you would think about how to apply these strategies in all cases.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yu-kai. We are definitely looking forward to more of your sessions. Before we go here, would you like to end with a few words?
Yeah, so I know there's the hackathon for tomorrow, and just first of all, it's great that you're here learning, and hackathon is Core Drive 3 empowerment of creativity and feedback, right? It's hands-on, it's applying your learning. You're not just memorizing and regurgitation. You're actually trying to do something interesting. So just remember the Core Drive 1 Epic Meaning and Calling, like what is it for? Why are you doing it? And think about the people using the product. What among those acres is doing it? Because again, just because you have good technology or features or product doesn't mean people will use it. They'll use it because they feel emotionally driven to interact with it. And so it's good for all of you here to think about what among those acre drives are in the product you're building for the hackathon.
Amazing last words. Thank you so much again, Yu-kai. It has been a pleasure, and we look forward to having you on our platform again, and hopefully see you soon again.
Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.
You too, Yu-kai, you too. Thank you. All right, to everyone, again, thank you for being with us. And we had a really great session. We will be updating this recording on our YouTube channel. You can find a link on the chat box there. And yes, don't forget to attend our hackathon tomorrow. We will have this live hackathon with our GSDC Advisory Board member, Deepak Sharma. So he will be moderating the session, and together we'll do the hackathon. We have many prizes. Like he announced, we have many amazing prices on stock for you, and you would not want to miss it. So if anyone has missed today's session as well, do let them know that we have the hackathon tomorrow. You can join it. The registration is the same. It's on the web page. We can find a link on the chat box as well. If you have registered for this event, you are registered for the hackathon as well. You will get the email, you will get the link, joining link, everything, all the reminders will be sent to you on your email. Yeah. Yes, we have a message from Yu-kai. Yeah, he has the link for you all to send him a message directly as well. I did see many of you have questions, but of course, due to time, we cannot take all the questions. So please feel free to check that link there. He has shared it on the chat box. You can directly connect with him. You can ask your questions there directly with him. And again, thank you so much to everyone. I do want to give a quick information as well that we'll be having a generative AI ITSM webinar on the 15th and 16th of October with Kenneth Gonzalez and Sophie Hussey. So you do not want to miss this as well. It will be next week. We'll send you all the deets. We'll update it on our website as well. You can check on the website. You can follow us. You can connect with us to learn more about it. And yeah, if you are not into ITSM as well, you can share with your colleagues, because obviously you'll have colleagues on this. Do share with them. It will be very helpful for them. On the screen, you can see a QR code which you can scan to follow us on LinkedIn and get all the updates about such events moving forward. And also we request you, kind request for you to leave us your review on Trustpilot so that we can keep on hosting such knowledgeable events for you. You can share your session takeaways, your learning outcomes, and whatever outcome you have through these sessions. It will be very helpful for us. The link is shared on the chat box. You can click on it. You can share your experience, and yeah, just say hi as well. We would love to hear from you. We also have a community LinkedIn group. So on that group, you can join us. You can connect with like-minded people, and you can connect with them to discuss more about the session further. So yeah, do check out our website to connect with us, and we'll see you again tomorrow with Mr. Deepak Sharma and I hope everyone have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much again for joining us.